In the first week of President Bongbong Marcos, the economy was in focus. Here's what we know. June inflation came in at 6.1%, the highest since October of 2018. More Filipinos were reportedly jobless in May as the unemployment rate rose to 6%. Underemployment also slightly rose to 14.5%. The Philippine peso also breached the 56 level against the US dollar. This is the peso's weakest finish since September of 2005.
Here to talk to us more about the country's economic outlook and the state of the Philippine labor sector, we have with us live via Zoom Labor Secretary Benvenido Laguesma, and here in the studio, PCCI President George Barcelon. Secretary Laguesma, Mr. Barcelon, welcome to the big story.
Thank you for inviting me tonight.
Okay, let me start with you. Well, the numbers that are going up are not necessarily the numbers we want to go up.
That's right.
Unemployment, inflation, the peso is becoming weaker. Where does essentially all of that put us in terms of your outlook?
Well basically, the inflation were costs induced because of this, what's happening in the geopolitical war in Russia and Ukraine. Fuel price, oil has gone up. All commodities, food commodities, and coal has gone up. And most of, for our needs, those are imported. And the fact that the peso has depreciated is primarily because we do have to do some fiscal actions. And lately I've heard that the interest rate would be going up probably by 50 basis points. 50 basis points.
They had, last week they had said no higher than 25.
Yes, but now I think they're changing their tune because of the fact that we've broken 56 pesos to a dollar. And there's a possibility that the FedEx in US federal will also increase higher than what is expected. So it's important for us to keep the peso at a manageable level. Otherwise, most of our imported fuel, commodities, and everything has gone up. And that's why we have a spike in our inflation.
All right. Well, what does that mean, though, for our workers? I'm sure a lot of people are just coming out of the pandemic, a lot of enterprises as well, just coming out of the pandemic. How will this affect people in a sense that everyone is basically a consumer and is affected?
We had wage increased towards the end of June. And some of them are pretty high. Some are within reason, but you know how it is. Any wage increase will cause higher production costs. And this has been of concern, but what's important for us is really to sustain the economy, to sustain the jobs that we have. We don't want, because of this inflation or the concern of uncertainty, the jobs will be lost. And that was one of the reasons why we had the pleasure of inviting Secretary Benny Laguesma yesterday to PCCI office. The topic was really about jobs, and we're very hopeful after hearing from what Secretary Laguesma shared with us, the programs they have, okay? And to really retool, upskill our workers. We do have a lot to do, and we in the private sector will always extend any assistance that we can give to the Department of Labor.
Well, let's take it to Secretary Laguesma. Secretary, speaking of that, I mean, Mr. Barcelon had, I think, emphasized a particular sector in the labor sector, because we're talking about two groups here. Yung mga may trabaho na, di ba? And as he said, prioritize natin yan, let's secure them, let's try to make sure that may trabaho ka na, lagay natin sa maayos yan. But at the same time, napakalaki rin ng sector na naghahanap ng trabaho. And as we've seen for the numbers, it's not only unemployment, it's also underemployment. So what are the programs in place for those who are still looking for work?
Robbie and Sean, magandang gabi. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
And George, good evening also. Good evening to you.
Yes, good,
Siguro, just Robbie, yung labor force natin based on the survey has an increase, no? Something like around 500,000 na nadagdag sa ating labor force itong 2022. And I think the new entrants and fresh graduates would account for that, no? When we talk about the unemployment rate, if we compare it to the same period in 2021, mas mataas yung 2021, mas mababa itong 2020. Although, as you have pointed out, may pagtaas yung underemployment rate, which is a cause for concern for the Department of Labor and Employment, because that, to me, means medyo yung quality of jobs may problema at mukhang mga short-term lamang o panandalian na mga trabaho yung nakukuha at saka yung mga workers gusto pang magkaroon ng karagdagang oras ng pagtatrabaho upang magkaroon ng karagdagang kita, mukhang yun ang kailangan din namin na matugunan, no? On that score, I think we yesterday, as pointed out by George, Mr. Barcelon, we had a very productive meet and greet meeting. It was supposed to be a meet and greet, but we tackled the issues that were raised during my consultation dialogues with different labor groups. And part of that actually would really revolve around three major issues, no? Yung jobs, kasama diyan yung katiyakan sa trabaho, and then yung income, nabanggit ni George, yung may kinalaman sa pagtataas ng mga wages throughout the regions. And finally, yung issue may kinalaman sa prices of basic commodities na ang reklamo ng ating mga manggagawa, ang kanilang purchasing power ay bumababa.
Mr. Barcelon, let me turn back to you. Nabanggit kanina ni Secretary Laguesma, the numbers for unemployment will likely go up because, one, there's a lot of people entering the workforce right now, fresh graduates, both from senior high and also from college. But I want to ask, what's the situation for this class of people entering the workforce? The people in particular who are emerging from essentially 2 years of their final higher education on lockdown.
Yeah. Well, the reality is very challenging. Okay, even for companies have a choice to hire. Of course, we'd like to hire K-12, but then meron ka naman college graduate. So between the two, of course, halimbawa, yung additional 4 years of study, they know more. So there's this balance wherein K-12, those who took the skill aspect, probably can get hired also in the factories. But having said that, this is a takeoff from what Secretary Laguesma shared with us, that they are putting focus on the TESDA. The TESDA wherein they will now really look at upskilling and retooling our workers. No? For us also, we want to go up the value chain. And we've been sharing our thoughts with those who are thinking of investing here, that we encourage them to put up training, the proper training. Once the workers are trained or accredited by them, they hire them at a much higher rate. Okay? But it's a reality that every year we need to create around 700,000 to 800,000 jobs. It's a challenge. The industry absorptive power is not so high. So we do need to push for more foreign direct investments or even local investments to create more jobs. And that has been our advocacy for a long time. Yung dating build of the previous administration, and which is to be continued here. No? They call it BBM, build better more, something like that. No? Yeah. So kami rin, we subscribe to that because anything that would help pump prime the economy means more jobs. And that is what is really needed for our country.
All right, how about from your end, Secretary Laguesma, what can you do to support the private sector? Are there any key programs that you want to push forth in the DOLE?
Robbie and Sean, I have mentioned before that the first thing that I did was to have consultation with the labor sectors, listen to their, grievances, complaints, and even suggestions also. And as pointed out earlier by President George of PCCI, we had a very productive dialogue yesterday. And it's correct. No, we are actually looking at TESDA to be able to help, really provide enhanced skill or upgrade the skills. No, kasi there is also this clamor that during jobs fair, as mentioned by President George, ang mayroong nabibigyan ng priority yung mga mas mataas ang pinag-aralan. No? Parang yung mga K-12 na mga graduates, parang nare-relegate sa background. So we would like to more or less, we would like to have a focus in the sense that maybe there could be a special jobs fair involving K-12 graduates, top companies that have existing vacancies that are actually suitable, where these K-12 graduates can actually really match the requirement. The other thing is that we look at probably TESDA, doing some equivalency process, yung accreditation, so that yung lacking in documentation, yung hinahanap na diploma, hindi naman siguro talagang yung dapat na maging main consideration in hiring K-12 graduates. No? So after my discussion with the groups of labor and with the employers, we went to the drawing board and look at the possibility of having a labor and employment plan that will cover 2022 to 2028, no? And that potential labor and management and employment plan would then be there will be consultation with the labor sector and the employer sector, where ECO, PCCI, PhilExport, and the other employers group will participate. Will try to vet out that labor and employment plan, and hopefully we can come up with something that can be the basis where there will be targets, modalities, and how do we approach really trying to address this issue, perennial issue of increases in the unemployment rate, having into consideration that employer sector was saying 700,000 to 800,000 jobs. Actually, I told them, mukhang mababa sana yan. Mababa yan kasi bata pa ako sa Department of Labor and Employment, nadidinig ko 1 million jobs ang commitment.
Talaga po, marami pa po.
Yes.
At saka mahaba pa po ang mga kailangan gawin. In the meantime po, susubaybayan po natin yan. We do appreciate your time, Labor Secretary Benny Laguesma, and of course, PCCI President George Barcelon. Sir, maraming salamat po.
Thank you.